This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime. I want to dedicate the shir for the Atzlacha Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family. For the Refuah Shalema of Maxim Yehuda Ben Yafa, should have Refuah Shalem B'soch Sh'ar Choylei Yisrael. And a great Mazel Tov to Reb Nissim Bahar, great-grandson. Baruch Hashem, Mirtzeh Hashem, many more to come. And much nachas de kedusha from all of them. Parashas Balak. We learn about.
She just had that. My great grandmother now has four kids under the age of 4.
Many more to come. Mirtzeh Hashem. In Nazir Chav Gimel Amud Beis, Soita Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, Sanhedrin Kufei Amud Beis, Horayos Daf Yud Amud Beis. Chazal say, for the merit of the 42 korbanos that Balak brought to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he had the schus. Who is one of his descendants? What? What's the schus that Balak gets? What a great reward. You have Rus, Moavia, which means, in other words, Melech HaMashiach is coming from you. So he brought korbanos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Balak HaRasha wants to curse cloudy soil, wants to destroy them, but he gets Rus. How does it work? We know everything in this world is midah keneged midah. Chazal says, Siren Daf Tzadi Amud Aleph, Kol midoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That means not every so often, sometimes, Kol midoisav, all over, across the board. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure. What's the measure for measure in that? The Midrashim explain the great tznius and praise Rus for her unbelievable tznius. Medrash Ben Rus says, all the young ladies, we used to go and be with the koitze and fool around with them. That's the language of the Medrash. But this one, Rus, she is very, very modest. Zohar HaChadash says, Rus, because of her tznius, she is zoiche to come to be tachat kanfei hashchina. In the Midrashim again, they continue praising Rus. The Medrash says that one of the lads over there was speaking to Boaz and saying to him, she is so tzniistic, we never saw, she's here already a few days with us, we never saw her fingers even. She turns around, she never looks at us, and if she needs to pick up something from the ground, she actually bends down, she sits on the ground, and she picks it up in the most tzniistic way. Everything is perfect. Mimele, it comes out that Rus teaches cloudy soil what tznius is all about. What did Balak want to do? He wanted to breach all the tznius in cloudy soil. He took all the Midianite women and told them, go and seduce cloudy soil. He wanted to destroy tznius and Am Yisrael. His, as if reward, it's the biggest punishment for him, in his face. Comes Rus, comes Dafka from him, and she teaches us all about tznius. You wanted to destroy tznius? Guess what? One of your descendants will come and teach us all about tznius.
Even though these first two korbanos were brought to curse Israel, nevertheless it turned out that it will kill.
True. And Chazal say, you see from here, mitoch shelo lishma, ba lishma, an unbelievable thing. Which is a whole big thing. I think we discussed it maybe a couple years ago. When somebody does something with no intention for a good result, but something good comes out of it, does he get a schus? And how much more so is exaggerated, this question, when we're talking about a goy. So in Kiddushin Daf Mem, we learn that if one does something, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is metzaref machshava l'maisef. You have a good machshava, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you know what, we'll count the machshava as well. By a goy, it doesn't work like that. But you see at the end of Parshas Chukas, that Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid of Sichon, and Chazal asked in Masechet Nida in Samech Aleph, why is he afraid? Who are you going to fight? Sichon? What are you afraid of? And Chazal say, and Rashi brings it at the end of Parshas Chukas, Moshe was afraid. Maybe he has the schus that he told Avraham Avinu, your nephew, Lot, was kidnapped. Go and save him. And Avraham Avinu went and he saved him. What a tzaddik! He helped Avraham Avinu. Tzaddik.
I thought that was Og.
I'm sorry?
That was Og or Sichon?
Og, I'm sorry. Og, I'm sorry. He fought Sichon and he wasn't afraid of him. And his brother Og, he's about to fight him and he's afraid. Why is he afraid of Og? Thank you for correcting me. So Chazal said, because Og is such a big tzaddik. He helped Avraham Avinu. What tzaddik? Chazal say what the real reason is that he told Avraham Avinu, your nephew Lot was kidnapped. He wanted Avraham Avinu to go to war and to die so he can go and marry Sarah. What a big tzaddik. but you see something came out of it. Hundreds of years later, he still has a schus that Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid of him. So he does bring 42 korbanos, and he brings it for the wrong cause. But he does bring 42 korbanos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu eino mekapech schar kol birya. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays reward for everyone for everything they do. Unbelievable reward. How much more so when you do something right for the right cause? Since Bilam is about to travel, he's about to get into his car, which is his donkey, and ride all the way to Balak, it allows us to speak about traveling. Listen to an interesting shaila. I'm sorry?
I'm just wondering, does Rashi say that Balak was one of the princes of Midian, and he appointed him over Moab at that time to be king? So he's a Midianite and not a Moabite. So if Ruth's descended from him, she should be called Ruth the Midianites, not the Moabite.
Because Chazal says she's a descendant, great-granddaughter of Eglon, Melech Moab. And Eglon comes from him. Eglon was Melech Moab. Boy said, listen, interesting shaila. There is a Rosh Yeshiva, very choshev Rosh Yeshiva, that travels a lot to the States to raise money. Where's the Yeshiva? When he gets to the States, he raises money and he also gives shiurim. So he always flies business class, because he needs a lot of room for all his svarim and prepare his shiurim. 10, 12-hour flight, he doesn't sleep for a second. He sits and he learns and he learns and he writes his shiurim that he's going to give in the States and when he comes back to the yeshiva. That's how he always does it, and there's nothing wrong with it. He needs the space, he needs the room, he needs to concentrate. Wait. He had an appointment with one of the big gvirim in the States. It's the first time that he's meeting him, among other people that he's going to meet. And he was traveling to the state. He bought first class tickets, business class, as he always does. He comes to check in his luggage, and the lady apologizes. Says, I'm so sorry, but there was some kind of a confusion, and your seat was already taken by somebody else. We did double booking. That happens. And if it's okay with you, we'll take you down, demote you, and you're going to fly coach, but you're going to get your money back, and you're actually going to fly for free. Is that okay with you? He says, okay, fine. So he flew for free. He gets to the States. The following day, he's meeting this rich guy, and the rich guy says, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. How did you get here? I mean, how did I get here? I flew. Beautiful. How'd you fly? Coach? Business? Coach. Okay. They have this meeting, half an hour. The rich guy is very impressed with the Rosh Yeshiva and his yeshiva. It's the first time he's meeting him. And he gave him a very nice donation. $10,000. First time they met. Rosh Yeshiva leaves his office, and on his way out, he stops by the secretary and he asks, what kind of a question is that? The first question you meet, a person asks, how did you fly here? Coach? Or business? Who does that? He says, no, you have to understand. This guy is very, very makbid. If a meshulach comes here, somebody who wants to raise money, comes here and says, I got here flying business, this guy doesn't give him $1. He says, my hard-earned money will go to somebody who wastes this money. I myself fly coach. So you, the Rosh Yeshiva, wants to raise money from me, should fly business. He doesn't give $1. He says, oh, okay, thank you very much, very interesting. And he leaves. And he starts thinking, wait a second. I bought a ticket to fly business. I was supposed to fly business. So on the last second, they put me in coach. If the rich guy would have known, the emes, that I always fly coach, and I actually was supposed to fly coach today, would he give me $1? Forget about $10,000, not even $1. Is it a mekach taus? Am I supposed to call and apologize, give him back the money? What do you do? Absolutely not. Listen, the rich guy is wrong. He really is wrong. But he's entitled to do whatever he wants with his money. It's his money. And he can have all the conditions in the world. And if I don't like to pay or to give money, to contribute to a person who flies coach or to fly a business, I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah, but you could write out a list of criteria.
True.
You just asked one question. How did you get here?
What about Gnevas Das?
He wasn't going back.
No Gnevas Das.
No, because the Kaddish Baruch Hu arranged this particular time. People happen to travel that way. You can see like Hashgacha Pratis is there.
Hashgacha is always. But if the Hashgacha entails also a little Gnevas Das, you take money from somebody else. If the rich guy would have known the truth, would he give him something?
No.
No. So it's not Gnevas Das? It's not Mekach Taus? It's not a Matana Betaus?
No, the only question was, how did you get here? And he wasn't speaking about how do you normally get here, how do you usually travel. If you'd asked that, then the answer was...
I only answer what they asked me. You didn't ask me how I normally fly. You didn't ask me if 3 days ago I spent a lot of money to buy a ticket flying business. You didn't ask me. I only answered you. There's no Gnevas Das. Ashgacha Pratit for sure. But when it works for you, but works against the other person who doesn't want to give you money in this manner, what about Mekach Taus?
It only happens so that he would get the money.
That's what you say because you're siding with the Rosh Hashiva. If you happen to be the secretary of the rich guy, you would say, you're taking my money. The guy is allowed to say, I don't want to give money to this cause. He's allowed to. It's his money.
There's an idea that when someone's going to give tzedakah, he can look into the person he's giving to. Here, he clearly didn't really mind.
If he would have looked into and get the records from the airline, he would see that it's true. He flew coach. He can't go into their office and find out how exactly the ticket was purchased and how much money was paid and for what class. He wouldn't be able to find it.
He looked into this guy. He would have seen him fly his business, but he didn't care that
So
much.
it's his problem.
He didn't care that much.
There was no Gnevas at the moment of the interaction because he didn't know about all this business.
But right now he knows. He finds out later, 5 minutes later, that the guy would not give him $1 so he can comfortably take the $10,000 and use it for the yeshiva. When you know you're mavir al das balabais, that the balabais doesn't want that, isn't it a matana betaus? It's a mistake. I would never give you $1. Everybody's okay with it. There's nobody who even thinks that is a problem. Oof, Parshas Matos. Ve'isem nekim me'Hashem u'mi'Yisrael. How does that work here? Don't do things that people will suspect you. That's what the pasuk says. How do you want to fit this pasuk into this case?
When he finds out that the Rav knows that he asked the secretary and didn't say anything about it.
He didn't tell the secretary anything. He asked, how come he's asking me this? You're saying next year when he meets him and he's going to ask him, how did you come? He says, this time I actually flew. If he knows he's going to meet him, he's not going to do that. He's going to fly coach. But if he finds out later that this Rosh Hashiva always flies business class, you're saying it's going to be a problem.
The only thing he didn't ask the right question. He meant to find out. He tried finding out.
We're going after the kavana, not after the exact words. So you're going against everybody here. Well, courage. But none of you guys are giving me any rayas that you're right.
Okay.
I'll accept anything, but give me something.
As a Rosh Hashiva, yeah, he should have been more mafia there too.
He is our Shiva, and he wants to know what should he do now with the $10,000 he has in his hands.
He has a very high position. He's there.
So if it's a small yeshiva, no problem. If it's a big yeshiva, yes? How does that work?
Anyone who's, I guess, yeah.
You're taking $10,000 from the guy. Who cares the size of your yeshiva or the size of you as a Rosh Yeshiva? You don't like it now. Before you were okay with it. Now you don't like it. Now we have 2 against the whole world.
I can see the fact that he's using the money that the Rosh Hashiva is using, the money that he's going to get. I think that, I know he's learning during that time and all that stuff. That's a lot of money that's taken away from maybe the yeshiva would have taken.
So if it's $500, you're okay giving it back. But since it's $10,000, you're saying keep it. Because it's a lot of money. What about din pruta kedin mea? $1 or $100 is the same in the eyes of Chazal. If it's correct, in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you're allowed to keep it, keep it. If you're not allowed to keep it, what's the difference in the amount?
So that case a mitzvah. He's already giving.
So I can force you to give tzedakah to my cause. Maybe it's giving a lot of money, a lot more money to other causes, which are great causes. Who says my yeshiva is the best yeshiva in the world? And I can force you to give money to what you don't want to give. Maybe he already gave more than Chomesh. I can force him to give. He was impressed by me, so he gave. But if he would have known the truth, he would not be impressed and he would ask for all the money back. You like it or not?
I want to make that. Luck is it? Let's say somebody goes to somebody in the hospital, and another person's there also. So the other person, oh, you came to visit me. So nice of you to do it. So that's how called David does, because the guy assumed, because as long as he didn't say the parish I came to visit him also, it's not called David's God. So therefore, maybe in this case, he didn't try to tell him, he didn't just answer the question. That's all. And he assumed that he flies coach all the time. But that's
in other words, if he is mat'e es atzmo, he's causing himself the rich guy to think something wrong. It's his problem, not my problem. So you don't care about the fact that if he would have known, he would ask all the money back.
No.
You don't care about that. Without any rayas, nobody provides any proof from anywhere, and we have to paskin and based in because you feel like it. Shulchan Aruch, Choshen Mishpat, Reish, Kaf, Ches, Seif Vav. Asur leramos b'nei adam b'mekach u'memkar. You're not allowed to cheat people, you engage in business, or lignov daita. Not allowed to do gnevas das. For example, Shulchan Aruch brings if there's some kind of a blemish in the item that you're selling, you must notify the buyer. Even if he is an akum, he's not Jewish. For example, you sell to a goy meat of a nevela, and you say, no, it's shechted. The goy, what's the difference to the goy? He's not allowed to eat in nevela? Of course he's allowed to. But for whatever reason, you decided to fool him. You're not allowed to do this. Ve'af lignov das abrios bidvarim. You're not even allowed to do gnevas das bidvarim, only words alone. That you show him that you do something for him, but you don't really do it for him. Similar a little to the example you brought. You go to the hospital to visit your friend Reuven. Or you heard, he's hospitalized. So when you get to the hospital, suddenly you see Shimon walking with hospital's pajamas. Ah, Shimon, I was so worried. As soon as I heard that you're here, I had to run and visit you. Shimon says, you're such a tzaddik for coming. I can't believe it. You're allowed to do this? No. Why not? Why are you doing it? Because you want Shimon to owe you one. Next time you need a favor, you know who to call. You're calling Shimon. Shimon owes you big time. You want a toiva, you want a favor from him, you want a matnas chinam, you're not allowed to do this. The language of Shulchan Aruch, kegon shemar'eh she'oise bishviloi ve'eino oise. I'm showing you, I'm doing it for you. I didn't for you, I did it for Reuven. You see from here that even the goy's das you can't steal. Tosefta, Baba Kama.
But this was, if he said, I can proceed, if Shimon said, oh, thank you for coming.
Big chiluk. But if Shimon says, wow, you came to see me, and you don't say anything, and you just give him a hug and kiss him and say, I'm so happy, you look much better now. That's okay, lichora.
That's fine.
Tosefta Baba Kama. Perek Zayin, Aloha Gimel over there. Shiva Minei Ganavim hem. There's 7 types of Ganavim. Tosefta brings all kinds of examples of Ganavim. Rosh Verishon, highest level, the greatest, the worst type of a Ganav is a Goy Nevdas. Worst, more than stealing your money. And yet, unbelievable story in Maseches Nida, Daf Chaf Amud Beis. Ifra Hormiz was the queen, the mother of Shvur, the king of Persia. She wanted to test Rava. She wanted to see how wise he is. She sent him a sample of blood, not telling him what this blood is from, what type of blood it is. And she told Rava, I want you to figure out what this blood is. Rav Ovadia happened to sit right next to Rava. And he smells, the different machlokes and mefarshim, who exactly smelled the blood. Was it Rav Ovadia or Rava? And he smells. He says to him, this is a certain type of blood. It's called dam chimud. Rava writes back to the queen, this is dam chimud. She's so impressed. She says, wow. She says to her son, look, Chakimei de Yehudai. The Jews are so smart. Unbelievable, so bright. And her son says to her, well, who says? He got lucky today. Look, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Who says that he was lucky? She decides to retest him. The queen sends Rava 60 samples of blood. Different bloods. Figure out what they are. Rava sits in his lab. Best medrash. Says this is this. He got 59 out of 60. He didn't know what the 60th sample of blood is. Rav Ovadia, which we said 2 seconds ago, happened to sit there. The Or Sameach says, who cares that Rav Ovadia was sitting? Why is the Gemara telling me this? The Gemara says, the Or Sameach explains, Rav Ovadia, we learn in Barabasa, Chav Beis Amud Aleph, was a merchant. He used to go travel from house to house and sells little things. And one of the things that he used to have was women's jewelry and other things like that. So he had a beautiful lice comb. Rav Rava takes this lice comb from him, and he writes the 59 answers to the 59 samples, and he adds this little gift to the queen. Maybe it's a golden lice comb. And the queen receives it. Wow. How did Rava know? And Rava is so noble. He doesn't want to write to me that this 60th sample is of lice, and it really, in fact, was lice blood. So it's not elegant to write that to a queen. So he gives me a gift, a lice comb that I'll understand. This belongs to lice. She's so impressed. And she says, wow, you sit in the chambers of the inner heart. Jews, you're unbelievable. In other words, you know all the secrets of creation. Piliplan. Did Rava have this intention when he sent her the gift? No. He knew 59 samples of blood. He didn't know the 60th. Istaya Milsa, it's the language of the Gemara, he had siyata dishmaya, that he sends her a gift of a lice comb, and she interprets this to mean, oh, that's probably what it means. It happens to be that Rav Ovadia was sitting there, and he happened to have this lice comb, and Rava reached and took this comb from everything else that he had, and he sent her, what is siyata dishmaya? The Gemara doesn't say, Rava, you better tell her, you didn't really know this, it's Yad Ishmaya. You see an unbelievable Yad Ishmaya, you don't have to say anyone. You don't have to say it to anyone. Why did Rava have this unbelievable Yad Ishmaya specifically with lice, something to do with lice? What's the connection? I think perhaps, we said before, everything in this world is measure for measure. What's the measure for measure that Rava is successful dafka with lice? There's the Gemara of Eruv in Samechei Amud Aleph. We learn over there that Rava used to suffer a lot from lice. They used to sting him, and he would scratch all day long. He wasn't able to concentrate and to learn appropriately when this happened. It used to happen to him all the time. Shabbos Yud Beis Amud Aleph, we learn different Amoraim, how they conduct themselves with killing lice on Shabbos. Rav Nachman used to say to his daughters, do me a favor, kill my enemies, kill those who hate me, referring to the lice, and I want to hear them dying. I want to hear the sound that they make when they die. In other words, trying to tell you that there's no problem killing lice on Shabbos, even though, it's a chiddush, this is not a melacha she'ena tzricha legufa, it's a melacha she'tzricha legufa. I want to see those lice die. You're allowed to, and yet, since lice are different than all other animals, it's not considered netilas neshama, and you're allowed to do this. And the Gemara says Rabba and Rav Sheshes would actually kill the lice with their hands. But the Gemara over there in Shabbos Yud Beis says that Rava, he didn't feel it's not covered Shabbos, it's not right to do this. So he used to take the lice, instead of killing him with his fingers, he would put him in a cup of water. He conducted himself in an honorable way, has to do with lice, and therefore maybe he's zoichet siyata dishmaya dafka with lice. Maybe. Another unbelievable raya for siyata dishmaya that you can use, and you don't have to open your mouth, you don't have to say anything. Hoyrayus Yud Gimel Amud Beis, there was a certain Lice with Reb Meir and Reb Nosson in the Beis Medrash, and they wanted to remove Reb Shimon ben Gamliel from his position as the Nasi. Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, they wanted to remove him. How do you do that? Reb Meir suggested, you know what, why don't we ask him tomorrow to give a shir, Maseches Uktzin. Who's learning Maseches Uktzin? Uktzin. They knew that Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel didn't know Uktzin the way he knew other Masechtas. He's going to be embarrassed, and we are going to use a pasuk, Mi yemalel gevuras Hashem, yashmiya kol tehilasov. Who can be memalel gevuras Hashem? Who can be in the position of saying gevuras Hashem? Only a person who's yashmiya kol tehilasov. Only a person who knows the entire Torah. You don't know Maseches Uktzin? We're going to remove you from your position. Great. But Rabbi Yaakov ben Karshi happened to hear this plan. He was so upset. What's going to happen? Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, the Nasi, is going to be embarrassed tomorrow morning. What did he do? Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel's AC wasn't working properly that day, so he kept his window wide open. Late night, midnight, Yaakov ben Karshi goes and he sits by his window, by Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel's window. And he opens Maseches Uktzin and he starts learning Maseches Uktzin out loud. Shimon ben Gamliel hears this. This is strange. What is this sound that I'm hearing? He goes to the window. He sees a Talmid Chochem sitting and saying to himself, learning out loud Maseches Uktzin. He says, "What's up with that? Never happened before." Uktzin Midnight, out my window, there's got to be something is up. Something is up, I better listen. He listened to the whole shir that Rabbi Yaakov ben Karshi was teaching himself, and now he knows Maseches Uktzin cold. He gets in the morning, he goes to Bes Medrash, and Reb Meir, Reb Nassan, everybody says, Rebbe, maybe today we can listen to a shir about Maseches Uktzin. Maseches Uktzin? Yeah, why not? And he gives him Maseches Uktzin that he never heard before. Rabbi Yaakov ben Karshi, Siyad Ishmael. Who would think such a thing? There's Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel has to say to Reb Meir and to Reb Nassan, it's not really that I knew. Up to last night, I had no idea. But I had unbelievable Siyad Ishmael. By the way, Rabbi Yaakov ben Karshi, thank you very much. Does he have to say this? Does he have to reveal? By the way, after this Maaseh, there's a whole big to-do there. And from thereafter, that is why we call Reb Meir Acherim Oimrim. It's a punishment to them. Rabbi Nassan is called Yesh Omrim. This is a result of this Maaseh. A punishment for Reb Meir and for Rabbi Nassan. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel has to open his mouth and reveal what happened here. Siyad Ishmael. An unbelievable Siyad Ishmael. You don't have to open your mouth. Similarly, as you said, the Rosh Yeshiva wasn't asked, how did you intend to fly here? What was he asked? How did you fly here? How did you get here? I got here. I flew coach. Lichora, you see from these stories, you don't have to reveal the truth. Not the truth. You don't have to reveal your real hidden intention and what you used to do until now. Maybe from now on he's going to change. Maybe from now on he's going to fly coach. I don't know. But you see, Lichora, you have unbelievable Siyad Ishmael. You didn't lie. He didn't lie. He lemaise flew coach and he didn't fly business class and he's allowed to use the money.
If someone prepares a drink for himself and then his wife comes and he made this for me and he wants to be nice to his wife, he says yes. Is that, you understand?
If she fools herself to believe, or whoever it is fools himself to believe, we said you're allowed to.
So he's saying yes.
But that's exactly what the Shulchan Aruch describes, a case like this. When you open up your barrel of wine, 25-year-old barrel of wine, it costs a lot of money, and your friend comes over, and you make him believe that you open it just for him. You were planning to open it because you want to drink it. But you're using this in order to get something from him. No good. No good. Not allowed to do this. Only when you show him that you did it for him, you're not allowed to. How much more so to say bidvarim, as the Shulchan Aruch says in Reish Kuf Kaf Chet, you're not allowed to say this. But it could be that for one's wife, one would be allowed to do this. Because for Shalom Bayis, we're very lenient with all kinds of things. We even are allowed to be meshane from the truth. Yevamos Samech Yamud Beis, and we learn it from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And one is not allowed to do a chanupa, to flatter someone for the wrong intention, but one is allowed to do so to his wife. A wife is different. Could be for a wife, one is allowed to. Shalom Bayis, Adif, if he's not going to do this, who knows what's going to happen in that house, we will say yes.
In Indian as well, that you can...
I'm sorry?
Isn't in Indian as well that you can give the person as a who's without them knowing about it? I was thinking one of my relatives in England has a relation that they wrote in their will they devoted all their money to a donkey sanctuary, a place that looks after donkeys. So if that happened, if you were in charge of that person's will, could you take that money and give it to yeshiva or aniyim, and it would be zechus for them?
The right thing to do is take the money and give it to his sons, because that's what the Torah dictates. He is not aware. Now he's in Olam HaEmes. Now he knows that he made a big mistake, and the Torah and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching him very, very closely now says, you should hope that the people down there don't listen to you and they take the money and give it to your kids, because that's what the Torah tells you to do. If he doesn't have any kids, it'll be a great idea to give it to people who actually sit and learn. The Gemara calls it Talmid Chochem a chamor noise sfarim. So this type of a donkey you can give it to. That's probably what he meant. What's that?
Descendants, donkey's descendants.
Maybe. A similar Maaseh, but not exactly. I think I once told there, we take a Maaseh with Chaim Kanievsky, Zatzal. He used to get a ton of mail every single day. Sometimes 200-300 letters in one day. So one day he gets 2 letters, and one of them is asking him, he's telling him the whole matzav with his wife, and he says, Rebbe, should I get divorced or not? He tells him the whole story. And Reb Chaim writes in his very lengthy style, one word, yes. The same day, yes, you should get divorced. The same day, somebody else sent him a letter. What is the source for Chazal's statement? And he gives him a certain statement. Chazal say, what is the source to this? And Reb Chaim writes, look in the Mechilta, in Parshas Bo, this and this address. But little did he know, he made a mistake. He put the yes answer to the person who asked him, what's the source for the Mechilta? And the person asked, should I get divorced? He gets the source, look in the Mechilta. Reb Chaim doesn't know this. A while later, a guy comes in and says, Rebbe, I came to say thank you. Who are you? Not familiar. Thank you for what? Yeah, Mistama, you don't remember, but I asked you in a letter a while back, should I get divorced or not? And you wrote to me, I should look in the Mechilta. Listen, I'm not a Talmid Chacham. I looked in the Mechilta, I didn't see any connection to my question. So I hired 5 Talmid Chachamim to try to understand what the Rebbe is saying. And they looked into it, and they looked into it. And they're telling me, we think that Reb Chaim is saying that you shouldn't get divorced. I listened to you. And Baruch Hashem, we have Shlom Bayis, and I came to say thank you. Raglei Chasidav Yishmor. HaKadosh Baruch Hu watches over those who fear him. Is Reb Chaim Kanievsky mechuyev to say to him, listen, tell you the truth. Yatziyata Dishmaya. Baruch Hashem, you didn't get divorced. But it's not that you listened to me. I made a mistake. I actually was supposed to write to you, yes, you should get divorced. But I put in the wrong answer to the wrong person. I'm sorry. But Baruch Hashem, is he mechuyev to tell him this? Why not?
For Shalom Bayis, no doubt.
Baruch Hashem, there is Shalom Bayis. He says to him, I'm so happy you didn't get divorced, and now I'm changing my answer and stay married. But you should know, I made a mistake. That wasn't my intention. Why is he not mechuyev to say this? Now he's going to think that Reb Chaim is a Baal Moifes, and Reb Chaim is a Ruach HaKodesh, and the truth is Reb Chaim wrote, you should get divorced. Why shouldn't Reb Chaim reveal the truth?
It's a very different case. Here he might be double thinking his decision, and he might...
No, but Reb Chaim will say to him, listen, I'll tell you the truth, I made a mistake. But Baruch Hashem, I made a mistake, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves you, and you should stay married. You have Shalom Bayis, keep it, Mitzvah Hashem until 120. What's the problem? What Rechilus? What part is Rechilus? I made a mistake. Admit.
He's telling him, I think you should have divorced your wife 5 years ago when I wrote you.
That's what I wrote you back then. But obviously I was wrong. But you should know I made a mistake. Why not say the truth?
Why should you say Lashon Hara about the guy's wife? I mean,
It's not saying Lashon Hara. According to the information you provided last time, I'm telling you, in my eyes, you should have got divorced. But Baruch Hashem, because Baruch Hu saved you. I can't make a mistake. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
it's a bigger voice. What happened is a voice.
That you realize now, but it's Reb Chaim, when he is talking to the person, why shouldn't reveal the truth? Why, he should make himself to be an angel?
The Rav said if you tell him that I made a mistake, he'll think you're a bad boyfriend. The story as we know it is...
Why is he asking Reb Chaim? Because he holds that whatever Reb Chaim says, that's what you should do. So Reb Chaim will tell him, I made a mistake, but you should stay married. I'm revising my answer. Mishnah Rishoina, Mishnah Achoina, Tanaim and Amoraim did this. Dvarim she'amarti lachem etmol, ta'us hen beyadi. Then we hear Amoraim say, what I told you yesterday was a mistake. I made a mistake. So Reb Chaim can make a mistake? What? No, not about the wife. You told me XYZ maybe about yourself, not about the wife. The situation was such that I'm telling you, back then, I felt you should get divorced, but Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hu helped you.
With this, he opens the bet at first fight they will have, he will say, you see, Chaim Kanievsky, you should have put the thing in the right. I think it's a dangerous bet to have this.
In other words, Reb Chaim should make himself to be an angel. So Reb Chaim should make himself to be an angel. And this will be revealed, everybody will know, Reb Chaim is an angel. What about Gaiva? You don't have to worry about Gaiva. Chayecha koidmin. You're not worried about it at all. There is no Indian Shalom Bayis, there's no problem, because Reb Chaim will tell him, I'm telling you now, and better listen to me, stay married.
Yeah, but he leaves the Roshem, he may bring it back. There's no risk that he will bring it back first.
You know what happens when you come out of Reb Chaim with that information? Reb Chaim is the biggest Anvesan Ushvalberg. He's so humble. I also have an instruction to stay married. But now I know the truth. He really is a Malach Elohim, he's an angel, because he's not embarrassed to say, I was wrong. That's Gevurah.
His wife, on the other hand...
Shimon Amsoni, in Psochim, Chav Beis, in many places, 3 or 4 places in Shas, we learn about Shimon Amsoni. He used to be darshan all the yesim in the Torah. He did so for Chumash Bereshis and Shemois, Vayikran Bamidbar. He started Dvarim and he got stuck. Es Hashem Elokecha Tira. Es Hashem Elokecha. Es comes to include, to add. So not only do you have to fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to fear someone else instead. That's impossible. My whole life I was wrong. And he did a recall on all the books that he published. It's a gevura. And he was right for all the 4 Chumashim. But since there's some kind of a flaw in this system, the whole thing is wrong. He's not embarrassed to say I was wrong. So he is not embarrassed to say he's wrong, but the Rebbe should be embarrassed. Oh, what's up with that? The Afla wrote a tshuva leheter regarding the famous Maise with the get in Kliva. Very, very famous Maise. There was a big machlokes between Gedolei Yisrael. And after he wrote this heter, he wanted to dry up the ink. But by mistake, instead of using whatever he used the agents to dry it up and to be able to send it, he poured more ink and destroyed the tshuva. And he saw this as a siman from Shamayim, don't send this. And as an unbelievable siyat d'ishmaya, because of that, he was selected to become the chief rabbi of Frankfurt. He saw this as siyat d'ishmaya. Did he tell anyone? I was planning to say heter, but really the Maisa was le'isu, especially in Frankfurt where he selected it, and because of that he was elected. He didn't say a word. Shal Shuvas Chassam Sofer. In Even Ezer, Chelek Aleph, Simen Pei, he has a long tshuva about a heter for an aguna, and he writes this, that all these ideas and all these points, why you should be matir this aguna, came up in my mind as soon as I saw this question. But for some reason, from Shamayim, they delayed me writing the answer for more than 10 weeks. And every time I started writing a little, something else came up, and it prevented me from writing it for days and for weeks at a time. And at the end, finally, I wrote it, but I saw that this is siyata d'ishmaya, that they don't want me to rely on what I'm writing. So I'm telling you, I don't want to prevent you from my thoughts in Torah, but do not rely on this, and do not use this as a snif leheter. Don't combine my opinion as if there's another Rav who is matir. Do not use it. He used a siman from Shamayim to decide, I'm incorrect here. Piskei Tshuva, not Piskei Tshuvis, Piskei Tshuva. That's Pietrikov. Maybe 100 and something years ago, 130, 40 years ago. Siman Reish Pei Hey brings from a sefer Vayas Avrom that the opinion of the Chechenov Rebbe Avrom Chechenov, a big poisek, was that if someone ate meat, he has to wait 6 hours to have something dairy. But if he takes a little nap in the afternoon, he takes a nap, when he wakes up he can have dairy before 6 hours. Chiddush.
Also, is it chilek between meat and chicken?
How much more so? If he only ate chicken. He ate meat. Lemehadrin. The real deal, meat. Cow's meat. He goes to sleep. 6 hours didn't pass, but he slept. Nap. Sefer Zichron LeMoshe. All about the Chassam Sofer. Writes that the Chassam Sofer wanted to be mechadish, the same chiddush regarding a person who slept at night. He went to bed. He slept only 2.5 hours, 3 hours. That's called Shena Skeva. He gets up, he's allowed to have his coffee with milk. And the Chassam Sofer wanted to be mechadish it, and in fact, in the morning before 6 hours were over, the Chassam Sofer prepared for himself some coffee. But the glass fell down and broke. All the coffee spilled, and the Chassam Sofer says, Pam Shamayim, they don't want me to write this heter, they don't want me to use this heter. He saw it as a siman of Shamayim. Chiddush. And he writes there, Zichron Moshe, that if the Chechenove would known about this unbelievable moifes by the Chassam Sofer, he would erase what he wrote. Chuvas V'Anagos, the Moshe Shtermuch Shlita, brings this Vayas Avram, and he asks, what's going on here? The Zichron Moshe says that the Chassam Sofer paskin based on a Maise from Shamayim. His coffee spilled, so he realized, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Torah lo b'Shamayim. That Torah was given to us to decide based on how we understand its principles, and not because of all kinds of moifshtim and all kinds of maisim. What are you paskin based on a maisim? And this applies to what we said before also, about the ink. You poured a little too much ink on the yeshuva, you destroyed your, from Shamayim, they see. So Moshe Sternbuch writes, a beautiful understanding. He says, only the halacha decides for us. Not all kinds of moifsim. But the Gedolei Yisrael, who have Ruach HaKodesh, like the Chassam Sofer, when they see something like this, it suggests to them go look into it again. And when they look into it again, they can come up with a different psak. The Chassam Sofer went back to the sugya and he came out with a different realization. He said, no, I was wrong. That's what it means. Not because of the Maise he decided to change his psak. Because he went back to look at it. Similarly, there's a strange minhag of Ashkenazim in Chutz La'aretz. Very strange. Not to duchen every single morning, as we duchen in Eretz Yisrael. The Kohanim, as opposed to Sfaradim in Chutz La'aretz, who say it every single day like Nezol, Ashkenazim in Chutz La'aretz don't. It's strange. And all the poskim wonder why that is. The Rema comes up with something in Simen Kuf Kaf Ches and Orach Chaim, because we're not besimcha, and we're not besimcha, so we shouldn't do it. Fine. It's a strange minhag. The Agon Vilna wanted to institute that in his place, he's not in Eretz Yisrael, he's in Vilna. They should start duchening every single morning. He decided that. That night, somebody framed him and they took him to jail. And the Gaon Vilna realized this is probably because I'm trying to change a minhag in Klal Yisrael, and he decided, okay, we're sticking with this, no duchening in our shuls. He saw it as a siman from Shemaim. So Rabbi Yisrael Salanter and others asked, how is it possible? You're looking in Oisas Umovsim from Shemaim to decide how to conduct halacha? How does that work? So Moshe Sternbuch writes again, that's not the reason he decided to change. He saw it as a siman from Shemaim that tells him, look into this again. And when he did, he decided the halacha should be like what the Rama says, that we don't duchen in Chutz La'aretz every single day, only in the Yamim Tovim. Also from the story we brought before, in Nida, with Rava and his unbelievable miracle, Siyad Ishmael that he had with the samples of blood, you see that a Rav that answers L'Shem Shamayim has tremendous Siyata Dishmaya, and therefore Chaim Kanievsky doesn't have to open his mouth. I wanted to write what I wrote L'Shem Shamayim to answer your question. HaKadosh Baruch Hu switched things around. I don't have to open my mouth. There was a Maisa in London where this Meshulach from Eretz Yisrael came. We'll call him Reuven. He came to this big Gvir to raise money for whatever good cause. And the Gvir sits down, and this Gvir was Talmid Chochem, a big Talmid Chochem. So he says to the Meshulach, who looks, he's also a Ba'ur, also Talmid Chochem, that's why he looks. So he tells him, sit down. I don't understand this sugya in Masechet Zvachim. Can you understand? Can you explain to me? I have some questions about the sugya. So the Meshulach looks at the Gemara and looks. I don't know. So the Gvir gave him $5 and he leaves. Reuven downstairs meets Shimon, another Meshulach from Eretz Yisrael. And Shimon is about to go to the same person. So Reuven says to him, listen, I'm telling you, go to the best medrash and learn this sugya. He's going to ask you. I'm telling you, he's going to ask you. Shimon says, thank you very much. He goes to the best medrash. And he spends 2 hours with this sugya in his vachim. And he understands it very well. He goes into the Gvir's house. And the rich guy says to him, listen, maybe you can help me. I have a problem with Masechet Zvachim. Well, let's see. Maybe I'll understand. We'll see. He opens Zvachim and says, what does this mean here? I don't understand the Tosfos. And Shimon explains to him in the most beautiful way, on the spot. The rich guy was so impressed. Wow! Zvachim, Atoy oh. Yeah, it's a big Talmid Chochem here. He gave him a very, very nice donation. Very nice donation. So impressed. Shimon comes out and he asks, do I have to tell him the truth? I know Zvachim. I don't think I ever saw Zvachim. But, Baruch Hashem, I said, Reuven told me to look at Zvachim, and I did. HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed me to understand. Probably the Avira Eretz Yisrael Machkin that came with me from 5 hours ago from the flight allowed me to understand it. I said, If the Gvir would have known, I have no clue in Masechet Zvachim, would the Gvir give me money? If he would know what happened here, that Reuven just told me, and that's why I went and I checked it out, and I was able to ask Yad Lishma, would he give me money? Does he have to reveal the truth? What's that?
Based on what we said, no.
Based on what we said, he doesn't have to. But what are you going to do with the Yerushalmi in Shvi'is? What are you going to do with the Yerushalmi in Masechet Shvi'is, Perek Yud, the end of Halacha Gimel? The Gemara says a person who comes to a town, to a new place, they don't know him, and he only knows one tractate, but they honor him as if he knows 2 tractates. He is supposed to say, no. Don't honor me like a person who knows 2 tractates. I guess he sits in a more important chair. No. I only know 1 tractate. Isn't he supposed to say, based on this Gemara, listen, I only know Tanis and Megillah. I did Siyum on this many times. Zvachim. I don't know Zvachim. He gives him honor and money as if he knows the entire Masechet Zvachim. He doesn't. He knows this little sugya because he spent 2 hours with it. According to this Yerushalmi, don't we have to say the truth? This goes almost against everything we said until now. But the Yerushalmi.
He tricked himself thinking that he knows all the Masechet Zvachim. The other one just answered his questions about the specific sugya, and he answered what.
So the Ma'arit, Chelek Beis or Chaim Simin Ches, asks on this Yerushalmi, and he says in Chulin Tzadi Dalet Amud Aleph we learn that as long as a person is fooling himself, in other words, the rich guy is fooling himself to think that this guy is an expert in Masechet Zvachim, it's not considered Gnevas Das. Only if you do something to make him think that you are, whatever it is, in this case, an expert in Masechet Zvachim, otherwise not. So why is he chayav to say when you go to a new place and they honor you as if you know 2 tractates, but you only know 1? You didn't say anything. Why do you have to tell them, I only know 1 tractate? Why? So the Ma'arit says, because they praise you, they give him a lot of compliments, and you're silent. Your silence makes others makes them think that you're such an expert and such a Talmid Chochem. Your silence as if you did something. Shal Shuvas Chaim Shal, the Chida, doesn't agree with the Ma'arit. Ma'arit comes a little before him, maybe 300 years before, but he doesn't agree with the Ma'arit. And he says, it's because you're benefiting from Kavod HaTorah. They're giving you such honor because you, in their eyes, know 2 tractates, you're enjoying the Kavod HaTorah. In Kavod HaTorah is a milsei, it's something very important. It's almost quantified in money. Mimele, you should not benefit from this. Based on this, Licheoira, in our case, according to everybody, he should reveal the truth. That he only knows Tanitz and Megillah, whatever else he knows, or he doesn't know, and he doesn't know Masechet Pesachim. Because in Reish Chavchet, which we quoted before in Shulchan Aruch, we said that if you open up the barrels of wine, and your friend thinks that you opened for him, that's called Gnevas Das. But
isn't there one source, Dafka, regarding when a person is allowed to be Mashana, the MS, is Dafka how many Gemaras you learn? How many Seftos?
That's the reverse. You're saying as to a Metziach of Gimel Amud Beis that a Talmid Chochem is allowed for the sake of tznius. When they ask him, do you know Yevamos? I know Yevamos. Oh, Yevamos! He's allowed to change the truth because of tznius. This is the opposite. There was a Maaseh with Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan, Spector, Godolodo, Kovna. He once went to a certain town to have an audition to become the Rav. So on his way, he stopped in an inn. He was exhausted from the ride. It's not like you're driving in a nice fancy car, air conditioning. He's on a horse and a wagon for hours and hours and days, and he's exhausted. He gets to this inn, and even though he really wanted to sleep, he says to the owner, "Any sefer here that I can learn from?" I don't have Sforim, sorry. All I do have is a siddur with a perush of Derech HaChaim. Perush Derech HaChaim is a very chashuv poisek. It's not just a perush. He says, "Okay, give it to me." And he happened to be looking at the halachos of Kriyas HaTorah. The following morning, he gets to the town where he's supposed to be auditioned, and there was a maisa in the middle of davening, in the middle of laning, and they had a shaila, didn't know what to do. So he said, "This is the psak." And all the Talmidei Chachamim were mefalpel. Everybody says like this. And at the end they said, "Why don't we bring Derech HaChaim and see what he paskins?" They opened up Derech HaChaim and said, "He paskins just like him." So impressed, he was accepted for the job. And it happened to him again when he was on his traveling again to be the Rav in Novardok. Again, he's going to have an audition. So his thing was always, before he sat in the wagon, he always used to look in a sefer and think about a shaila, so this will occupy him when he's traveling. And he happened to be looking in a Tosfos, in Baba Basra Kuf Ayin Gimel, Amud Beis, and he looked at this Tosfos, and that's the Tosfos he was thinking about when he was traveling. When he came to town, they had a shaila there. This is a sugya that not usually most people deal with. A shaila of tuma, of a cloth which is 3 fingers by 3 fingers, that's the size, mekabel tuma, not mekabel to a whole big. And he says, look at the Tosfos. And it was like, wow, he knows the whole Torah Kula. And because of this, he was selected. Does he have to tell him the unbelievable Siyat Dishmaya that he had? No. Another unbelievable Siyat Dishmaya. Baba Basra Nun Hayamud Aleph. The Gemara says there is a row of stores, and the tax collectors come, and they go to the first store, and the second store, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. And when they finish with the fifth store, they take a break for lunch. When they come back, they skip over the sixth store, and they go to the seventh, and the eighth, and the ninth, and the tenth, and they just never went to the sixth store. Now, if the sixth store owner will not tell them, it will cause everybody else in town to pay higher taxes. Does he have to say the truth? Oh, you skipped over my store. The Gemara says, Andiski, siyata dishmayahi. This is called Andiski. When the tax collector skips over you, it's a special siyata dishmaya. Even though you're going to cause others to pay more, you don't have to open your mouth. Special siyata dishmaya that will moichel you from Shemayim. Even though it's going to cost other people more money. You see from here that, in our case as well, it's not something normal that the Meshulach will be asked a shayla in Maseches Zvachim. You see from here, it's a sign from Shemayim that when he wanted to go up, he met Reuven coming out of the rich guy, and he told him, listen, you should better look in Maseches Zvachim, and he did. He was able to understand. It's a special Siyat Ishmael. There was a Talmid Chochem who was supposed to be tested for smicha, Betzalel Zolti, Zatzal. And before he went in, he was in the Beis Medrash waiting for his turn, and he opened up a sefer. And he looked at that sefer, and he comes in, and Betzalel Zolti asks him a question that he just saw 2 seconds ago. And he said such a beautiful answer from that sefer, and Betzalel Zolti was so impressed, says, okay, you passed. Here's the smicha. He didn't continue to ask him. Special Siyat Ishmael. You don't have to open your mouth. But as opposed to this, now something which is maybe the opposite, maybe. There was a very big Rav who was asked a question. And he looked at the Shach, and he wrote an answer. And later on, he realized he totally didn't understand the Shach. He understood the Shach exactly the opposite. The Psak was true. But he misinterpreted the words of the Shach. So he said to the Kehila, I don't want to be the Rav anymore. I don't think I'm qualified and I should be the Rav. I totally misunderstood the Shach, and I wrote a tshuva based on this Shach that I didn't understand correctly. I don't think so. I don't think I should be the Rav and give any psakim. And the Kehila said the opposite. Look what a siyata dishmaya you had, that even though you didn't understand the Shach correctly, but Lemaisa Kodesh Baruch Hu likes you. And he allowed you to write the right text, so no stumbling block came out of every answer. Who's right? The Kehila or the Rav? The Kehila. And the proof for what you're saying is Bab Metzia Peyalef and Bab Metzia Tzadi Zayin. We find a few times in Shas that the Amoraim were asked a question and they made a mistake. Ve'ichsif, and they're embarrassed. And at the end, Iglai Milsa, that the Maisa was different than the way the question was formulated to them, and they were actually right. And that proves unbelievable Siyata Dishmaya. Oh, yeah, we'll see this in a second. Shashur Sam Sofer. In Even Ezer Chelik Beis, in Siman Kuf Beis, he writes, he answers a question on the Beis Yosef, and he writes, I don't think the Beis Yosef had Kavana when he wrote this. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu assisted the Beis Yosef that he should be saved from a mistake, even though he didn't intend to write what he wrote. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does so to anybody who learns Torah L'Shem Shamayim. He saves them from mistake. The Gaon Mivilna interprets a pasuk in Mishlei Tetz Zayin Yud. The pasuk says, Kesem al sifsei melech, b'mishpat lo yim al piv. There is magic on the lips of a king that will not change the course of the mishpat. What does that mean? What magic on what lips of what king? And the Gaon Mivilna says, Talmidei Chachamim are called kings. Gitin Samech Beis. Man Malchei Rabbanon. He's a melech. There's magic on the lips of the king that even if he makes a mistake, Kesem, there's magic there that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes sure that b'mishpat lo yim al piv, that the mishpat, that is halacha, will not be wrong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes magic. That even when he makes a mistake, like the story we said before with Reb Chaim, or like the story with this Rav who made a mistake understanding the Shach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu changes things around that it's not going to be a mistake. And he brings a Gemara in Gittin Ayin Zayin Amud Beis that there was a Maisa with a guy who was very, very sick. Levasof Ichsif Ulesof Iglai Milsa. Again, the same idea that somebody paskin, and at the end it was revealed that there is no mistake. The Baruch Hu changes mitzius so the Talmid Chochem will not be embarrassed, and he's going to be right. So the Kehila is right, and the Rav can continue to give Piskei Halacha. So after we spoke a little about donkeys about lice, let's move to the donkey who appears in our parasha. Vayomer elav Balak Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the Mizmalach, Al ma hikita et asonesa? Why did you hit your donkey? 3 times. The Rambam in Moire Nevuchim, Chelek Gimel, the end of Perek Yud Zayin says, this is a source for Tzar Baalei Chaim Midoraisa. I think there's 10 different opinions, maybe we brought them in the past. Where do we learn Tzar Baalei Chaim from? And every Rishon brings a different source in the Torah itself. But the Rambam uses this, and Sefer Hasidim does as well, to show Tzar Baalei Chaim Midoraisa. But, very hard to understand. Trumas Adeshin, also a Rishon, writes that there is no Tzar Baalei Chaim when you're Mitzayer the Behema Letzorcho, when you have a need. Now imagine, your car is not driving, and the only way to get the engine to work is to hit the engine. Bang it a few times. That's Letzorech. The Behema, your car, is not moving. So you hit it. That's the normal way that you have to operate the machine. That's called Letzorech. It's not Tzar Baalei Chaim. So why is Bilam charged? What are you doing to the animal? What do you mean, what are you doing? I'm turning on the ignition. That's the way you do it. When an animal doesn't want to walk, that's what you do. You hit the animal. So why is he blamed? Oh, Tzar Baalei Chaim. What did you do wrong? It's Letzorech.
This he did in anger.
So what? But Lemais is going to get the car to move. And if you're angry at the car and you hit it 3 times in the engine, it's Letzorech. That's how you operate the machine. Are you familiar with it? Do you have to go to the animals and say, excuse me, please, can you start walking? Is that going to work? I don't think so. Try it. I don't think it works. And Bichlal, Tzar Baalei Chaim, does that also refer to killing? Because 1 second before you kill the animal, it has Tzar. So you're not allowed to kill an animal because of Tzar Baalei Chaim? What do you have there? Leather shoes or?
No, I'm asking the Rebbe is asking.
Your wife wears fur coats? You have a belt which is made out of leather, a bag from leather? So I'm asking you. You kill a fly, no tzorich there, right?
I want to remove it.
It's bothering you. So instead of doing this 100 times, once it ended. Is there Tzar Baalei Chaim? Because 1 second before it died, it had Tzar Baalei Chaim.
The rest of the tzorich Tzar Baalei Chaim removed it.
Yeah, but what kind of tzorich is this? So keep doing this a few more times. What are you, lazy? Shita Mekubetzet. Chidushim, Rabbi Yisrael. Shita Mekubetzet Ba'abas, Adaf Chaf Amud Aleph. He brings some Dari Migash. Who's Dari Migash? The Rebbe Av. The Rambam. That even when killing, there's an Isur of Tzar Baalei Chaim. Sefer HaChinuch says, what's the reason? In Mitzvah Taf Nun Aleph, what's the reason for the Mitzvah of Shchita? You're about to kill the animal. What's the reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, do it this way?
Not to let him have suffering.
To minimize the Tzar Baalei Chaim. You see, even killing has to do with Tzar Baalei Chaim. It's a tremendous chiddush. And the language of the Rambam over there in Moreh Nevuchim, where I quoted, Chelek Beis, the end of Perek Yud Zayin, suggests the same. So you have Trumas Adeshin. You have Bri Migash. You have Sefer HaChinuch. They all lichora seem to say that even killing has to do with Tzar Baalei Chaim. But in Chulin, Daf Vav, Daf Zayin, Amud Beis, the story, which is very strange based on what we said until now. The mules of Rebbe. A mule is a very violent and dangerous animal. Very, very, it can be lethal. Rebbe wanted to uproot their hooves in order for them not to harm people. The Pinchas ben Yair said to him, no, Tzar Baalei Chaim, don't do it. So Rebbe said, okay, so we'll kill him. The Pinchas ben Yair says to him, can't do that, Bal Tashchis. Wait a second. If, according to the Shita of all the Rishonim that we just brought, Tzar Baalei Chaim includes killing, so when I told you before, don't do it because of Tzar Baalei Chaim, why is Rebbe coming back and saying, oh, so I'll kill him? I told you Tzar Baalei Chaim. Tzar Baalei Chaim entails killing as well. You see from the story, not like the Rishonim that said that killing is within Tzar Baalei Chaim. A question, don't have an answer. But back to our question about Bilam. Why is he charged? what did you do wrong? It's l'tzoyech. I want the animal to move. So Moshe Sternbuch Shlita, he explains, Bilam didn't give a regular, whatever you're supposed to do to the animal. He did behidu. Ooh, he did cruelty, behidu, midoraisa, midorabanon. He gave her some extra patches the way he knew how to do it, and for that he is charged. The Rema in Even HaEzer, Simen Hey, Seif Yudalet brings anyone who needs something for the purpose of refuah or for other purposes. There is no isur tzar balechaim, and therefore you're allowed to pluck the chicken. And you don't have to worry about tzar balechaim. And yet, the Rema writes, Umikol makom ha'oilam nimnaim dehave achzarius. But people refrain from doing so because this is called cruelty. So the Shvus Yaakov was asked, are you allowed to do experiments for medicinal reasons on a cat or on a dog in a way that it will endanger them? He concludes there, it's mutar lechatchila, there's no bal tashris, or there's no tzar balechaim. And he writes that what the Rema tells us, that people don't do this because of achzar, that means to do it with your hands. But when you give the animal some kind of a medicine that later will affect the animal in certain ways, that's not considered, that's not what the Rema talked about. And since you do it letzoirech, real big letzoirech here, there is no isur even mimidas chasidus. And with that, again, we'll explain why Bilam is charged, because he's doing it with his hands, like plucking the animal that with every feather that you take, it's causing a tzar ba'alei Rebbe Mordechai Zachi's tzar, he explained differently. Bilam said to the animal, if I had a sword in my hand, lu yeshchev beyadi, ki ata araktich, I would kill you. Which means, you know why I'm hitting you now? It's a punishment. Punishment is not considered tzorich. Tzorich is when you want the animal to move. When you punish, you don't punish animals because of that's not a tzorich. So because of that, he was charged. And similar, I want to read the language of Sefer Hasidim. Again, one of the Rishonim, Simen Tafresh Samech Vav. I think it's a big chiddush. Anything one does that will cause tsar to his friend, one will be punished. Ve'afim yaseh tsar al chinam lebehema. And even if you cause tsar, any sorrow to a behema for no good reason, one will be punished. For example, he brings an example. If you put a little too much of a load, more than it can carry, and it can't walk because of that, and you hit it, asid liten es hadin. One will give accounting for that and will be punished because tzar ba'alei is deoraisa, and he brings this pasuk that we started, that the Malach is accusing Bilam, al ma hikita es asonecha. Why did you hit your donkey? And Mida keneged Mida adds the Sefer Hasidim, and just like him, write other Rishonim as well. What did Bilam say to the donkey? If I had a sword, I would kill you. Oh, you want to use a sword to kill? That's why Bilam himself was killed with a sword. Mida keneged Mida. Want to ask something?
Based on this animal experimentation, in science experimentation.
Yes, it's the biggest letzorah that we have. Do you suggest that we do it on humans? Vayiftach Hashem es pi Yasov, the Kodesh Baruch Hu opened up the mouth of this donkey and is able to talk. Always wondered, how is it possible? An animal speaking. So obviously, the Kodesh Baruch Hu can do whatever he wants. It's a miracle. But I saw a Ramchal in two places. The Ramchal writes in Kitzu HaKavanos, Achila in Birkosea, he writes an unbelievable thing. More great were the animals of Sheshes Yemei Bereshis, from the 6 days of creation, more so than man who is now. Normal human beings. Look around. The animals back in Sheshes Yemei Bereshis were on a higher level, and that, he says, is the secret of the donkey of Reb Pinchas ben Yair, that was on the same level of those behemoths from Sheshes Yemei Bereshis. And with that he explains why the Amoraim said in Shabbos Kuf Yud Beis, we are like donkeys, but we're not like the donkey of Reb Pinchas ben Yair, because he was on a higher level than us, the Amoraim said. He was on a higher level than humans. In a different sefer, Adir Bamarum, one of the Svarim of the Ramchal, in page Lamed, he writes, the behemoths in the time of Adam Arishon were on the level of humans now, and that is, this is a big secret here, and that is because Adam Arishon didn't have to do any toiling. His tikkun was just to acquire kedusha, and the behemoths were there to serve man and to burn, to do anything for him. But then Adam Arishon went to the level of behema, and that is when he was commended on Taryag mitzvahs, because what the behemoths was supposed to do in Adam Arishon was supposed to acquire the Kedusha. That is the sword, the secret of Tayeg mitzvahs. But now that you can accomplish and acquire it in the regular way, now you're going to have to work for 613 mitzvahs. Chidish. So based on this, that Chazal tells in Pirkei Avos that this donkey was created in Sheshis Yemei Bereshis on Friday Ben Hashmashos. Now you can understand that he could speak, but because it was on a higher level than humans, or just on the level of humans, then he can speak. Riddle of the week. Since we hear here about a donkey that speaks to its owner, to Bilam, was there ever a case that a horse spoke to a human? To its owner. A horse speaking to a person. What's that?
Mr. Ed. Mr. Ed.
Mr.
Mr. Ed.
Mr. Head.
Mr. Ed.
Mr. A.
That was a talking horse.
And Mrs. B.
No.
I'm talking to our sources. I think I know what you're referring to. Now, what do you say? A horse that speaks to a person. What's that? Can it be? Yes. Achidish. The Egyptians are going to drown in the sea with their horses. And the horses are pulling them. They're on the horses. They feel that they're about to drown. So the Egyptians, the Medrash says, Medrash Shabbat, the Egyptians said to their horses, what are you doing? Until now I used to provide for you anything you wanted. You wanted to drink, I used to take you to the water, and now you're taking me into the water, I'm going to drown? And the horses respond to them with what we say every single day in Az Yashir. Rama bayam, humo shel yam I see. I see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the water, I have to go there. So the horses of the Egyptians spoke to them. And it doesn't stop there. The Medrash over there says that the frogs spoke as well to the Egyptians. And the Medrash says, and how do I know it? Because the passage says, Al dvar hatzfardeim asher sam leparo. Al dvar means dibur, that tzfardeim. There was a whole big dialogue there, the Medrash brings, but they said it to the Egyptians. Another big chiddush, seatbelts for this. The Rema Mipano, Reb Menachem Azariah of Pano, who knows exactly what goes on there. In Shvile Derekia, in the upper worlds, he knows what's going on in Gilgulim. And he says, Cosby, who sinned with Zimri, the end of this Pasha, is really Izebel. Cosby later on reincarnated in Izebel. How will she rectify herself? Gilgulim are all for rectification. That's the whole idea of Gilgulim. She comes later as the wife of Tonus Rufus, who converts and marries Rebbe Kiva. And that's her ultimate tikkun. Izebel, wicked Izebel, used to pursue Eliyahu. Right? Why did she pursue the Navi Eliyahu? Because Eliyahu is actually Pinchas. Who pursued Cosby? Pinchas. So you used to pursue me in the first round. I'm Cosby. Cosby was reincarnated in Izebel. So Pinchas used to pursue Cosby. So now she comes back as Izebel, and he comes back as Eliyahu, and now she pursues him. And Zimri is Rabbi Akiva, and that is his ultimate tikkun. And Zimri was actually the son of Dinah and Shimon, but from the filth of Shechem. And the 24,000 that Shimon killed in Shechem, they come back, and they are the 24,000 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva that died because they weren't respecting each other. I said you need seatbelts for this one. It's the Imam Ipano. He knows everything that goes on there. Chidushim. We're starting Motzei Shabbos the 3 weeks. Emetz Hashem Mashiach is coming, and they're not going to be 3 weeks of mourning. It's going to be 3 weeks of Mitzvim. Unbelievable simcha. But if Khalila, this gives us a chance to ask a question about fasting. Sunday is going to be a fast if Mashiach doesn't come. Is there any time, we know that normally a kid from the age of 13, a boy, and a girl from the age of 12, we're chayav mitzvahs fast. Is there any fast that only starts from the age of 18 for boys and 15 for girls? If you're 14 and you're a girl, you don't have to fast. You're 17 and you're a boy, you don't have to fast. Wait, next year. Such a thing? A fast that starts only when you're 18 for boys, 15 when you're a girl. Yom Kippur Katan. Why does it exclude the 16, 17, and 15? Why does it work? What about minhag?
On the day of the wedding?
So if a guy gets married when he's 16, he doesn't have to fast? Big chiddush. If you have a source, I'll accept it. Boy say, big chiddush. Magen Avraham in Simin Taf Kuf Ayin Vav and Orachaim Seif Kotan Yud. And the Magen Avraham is brought by the Shari Tshuva in Simin Tuf Kuf Pei. The Abaye Hetev and the Mishnah bring this Magen Avraham over there in Taf Kuf Pei and Seif Kotan Tes Zayin. There is a list of fasts that they decree on the tzibur in case of all kinds of tsaros, Rahman al-Islam, we should not know of. The Shulchan Aruch says, you do not decree these fasts on Ktanim. Ask the Magen Avraham, what do you mean, on Ktanim? Of course not. Ktanim are not chayvin in mitzvah. Why would I decree that an 8-year-old has to fast? Of course not. And therefore the Magen Avraham says, you know what Ktanim here means? It means a boy up to the age of 18, he's not included in this, and the girl up to the age of 15. A big chiddush, but that's the answer to our question. Fast that they decree on the tzibur because of all kinds of tzaros. A big chiddush. What's that? Somebody has something? There's a drought and all kinds of other tzaros, and the chachamim decide that there should be a fast. We don't include the ktanim under 18 for boys, under 15 for ktanim. The Abaye Hetev brings a very interesting ma'aseh. He says there was a month that they didn't see the moon. They wanted to do Kiddush Levana, very, very cloudy. So there was a Rav there that decreed a fast on everybody. They weren't zoichet to do this unbelievable mitzvah called Kiddush Levana. So he brings the Shavus Yaakov that writes that he made a mistake, and the Rav doesn't have the koyach to be matriach, the tzibur, to cause everybody to fast because of this, and he says this is wrong.
Were there different levels, like without water, like different times, so all of them?
Yeah. All the fasts that you decree on the tzibur, not the ones listed in your calendar on a regular basis that you have every year, the extra fast, because of tsaros, for example, is a drought. There can be other tsaros, chas v'shalom, a plague, all kinds of different tsaros that they have a koyach to decree a fast. That type of fast doesn't apply to boys under 18, girls under 15. Boys under 18, I'm sorry, did I say 18? 18 and girls under 15. In Tanis Yud...
Are there some Rosh Yeshivas that say that girls and boys should get married at that age? In other words, some yeshivas, there was a yeshiva in New York that boys should get married before they turn 18 and girls before they turn 16. You ever heard that before? The sources from the yeshiva in Baltimore.
Not familiar. Tanis Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph Nedarim Daf Yud Amud Aleph Chazal say Kol HaYoshev B'Tanis Nikra Choyte. One who is fasting is called a sinner. What did he do wrong? He's fasting. Why do you call him a sinner? And there is an opinion there that he is called a kadosh. So is he a kadosh or is he a sinner? Sunday, if Mashiach doesn't come, we're going to fast. Are you called a sinner or are you called a kadosh? How does it work? The Chassam Sofer is medayek beautifully. The Chassam Sofer says, it doesn't say kol ha-mis'aneh, anyone who fasts. It says kol ha-yoshev betanis. What is yoshev? Sit around, hanging out, stagnant. Why are you fasting? The fasting is supposed to move you to a different level. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to do some introspection. You're supposed to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a higher level. But if you're just sitting in tanis, yoshev betanis, and doing nothing with it, that's a sinner. You did nothing with your tanis. You just prevented yourself from food and drink that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you in this world to have some pleasure. If you're doing so, in order to get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a higher level of relationship, you want to do tshuva for what you did, that's great, you're called a kadosh. But if you're just sitting in a tanis, you have to rethink why you're fasting. Last thing, Rabbi Isai. I'm sorry? The Abaye Hetev brings this ma'aseh, and he brings some Shalshav Shvus Yaakov, that he says this Rav made a mistake, and it's wrong, and for that reason the Rav does not have a koyach to be matriach et hatzibur, that everybody should fast because they didn't see the moon. It's chaval, it's a shame. Daven that next month, if it's a shame, it's not going to be cloudy, you will be able to do this mitzvah. But it's not right to cause the tzibur to fast for that reason. Finally, yesterday we had a siren. Emet Hashem. Mishaberach, that this was the last siren we will hear. We're looking for the real siren, the shofar of Mashiach. But the last year and a half, last year and 8 months, 9 months, we had so many sirens. Rabbi say, what should one think about when he has to run into the mamad? He goes into the mamad and he says there, what should he be thinking about? And this will apply, you'll see, not just to sitting in the mamad. I'm sorry? Anything else? Nobody should be harmed. Myself, my family, and nobody gladly soil. 100%. Anything else? What should we be thinking about?
Said the story last time about the Bakur that went to Hutzaretz because he was afraid and so on.
I get closer to Kodesh Bo. This causes us to become on a higher level, for sure. But what should you be thinking about? What kavanah you should have?
All the enemies should be destroyed.
All the enemies of Klal Yisrael should be eradicated. Amen. What else? Everything you say is 100% true. 100%. Something else. Rabbi said this will blow you away, and in Mitzvah Hashem may change your life forever. Rabbeinu, the Pele Yoetz, under Erech called Galus. Listen to what he says. If one has to go to Galus, which means he has to travel for the sake of learning Torah, or for the sake of Parnasa, as many people do. Tov sheyechaven. He has to have kavanah. This, the fact that I have to get out of my comfort zone, I have to travel, should be counted as galus, and I accept on myself the decree of Shamayim be'ahava, and this will atone for all my sins, because Chazal say, galus mechaperes avoinus. Galus erases our sins. Wait. And if one doesn't have to travel, not for business, and not for learning Torah, his Rebbe lives across the street, and Baruch Hashem, he has la parnasa. He doesn't have to travel. What should he do? He wants to have kaparas avoinus. So he says, if you have to move, you have to move to a new house, even though it's on the same street. But the moving itself is considered galus. Have kavanah. And he brings the proof. Chazal say in the Medrash, why is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us after Yom Kippur to go to galus, into the sukkah? I'm in my porch. It's considered galus, and it's kaparas avoinus. And to this, one should think as well, it's the language of Pelios, when he goes from his house to the shul, to the Bet Knesset, or to the Beis Medrash. And it's not as comfortable, and you pad a chair at home. He says this, it's a little too cold, it's a little too hot, I'm out of my comfort zone, I'm in davening in shul, but I'm not 100% comfortable like I was at home. Think, this should be galus mechaper avon. Do it with love, do it with simcha, and it will atone for all your sins. He brings another example. Erev Pesach, your wife is cleaning the house. Get out of here, move here. Why are you sitting here? Move, I have to clean here. And she keeps moving you from place to place. She tells you, sit near the oven, in the kitchen. You have to sit on the floor. Accept it with love. It's a din shamayim. Have in mind, this is galus mechaper esavon. And he says this is true for anything. For a dvar mitzvah, for a parnasa, have in mind, because everything is counted upstairs. As long as you have in mind for it and accept it with great love. The last thing you want to do when you hear a siren is to run into the mamad. You're in the middle of doing something else. You're much more comfortable. You have to get out of your comfort zone. Think. On top of what you said, you're 100% right. But on top of that, nobody should be harmed. I should be saved. All enemies should be erased. HaKadosh Baruch Hu protect Klal Yisrael. And allow me to have this as kaparas avoinois. And you're good to go. It's mamish unbelievable. Pile ploim. This only be lahalacha, not lemaise. But it does apply to all of us, even with no sirens. You go to shul. It's not as comfortable. The chair is not so comfortable. Too cold, too hot. Should be thinking, this should be kaparas avonos. We still have a few more shiurim before the summer. We have 3 more shiurim. Next week, Pinchas, then Matos Masei, then Dvarim, 3 Shabbosim. But then I'll be traveling in Mitzvah Hashem to Chutzlas to give shiurim. So if you know a community shul or event that wants some shiur, there's still some days available, weekdays, and one Shabbos, Parshas Ekevich, is also available if you are familiar with a community that will be interested. Acheinu kol beis Yisrael hanesunim b'tzar ובשבי העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצר ולבוכם יפילו לעירו ובשיבוד לגאולה אשתו בעגולו ובזמן קוריב ונאמר אמן.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.